بنا وجعلنا ونور قلوبنا وقرة أعين محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. نوعنا التعلم وتعليم وتذكر وتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم، ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله قربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى مع لطف وعافية برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهني يا وهاب يا غني. اللهم إنا نسألك علم لدني ومشرب صافي الهاني يا وهاب يا غني. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين 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 يا رب العالمين. الحمد لله. We are going to continue our class on blessed reminders. تذكر الحضرمية إن شاء الله. Let me just open up the document. Okay. Okay, so we are at the chapter. I'm still trying to look at the document. We are at the chapter, still on the rights of the husband. Okay, so inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teach us how do we fulfill the rights of the people around us, right? Of our parents, of our husband. You see, it's very beautiful at this kind of books, right, whereby it focuses you right on fulfilling the rights of others, mashallah. And whereas the entire world is a very self-entitled world. And we do live in an incredibly self-entitled world, right, where people just think about their own rights, their own rights, their own rights, their own rights, their own rights. Subhanallah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me just share the screen. Yeah, Bismillah. Okay, Bismillah. Put down. So I'm intending for this time slot to be the fixed time slot for me to finish different classes that I began in Singapore. So once this book finishes, I will move to another book that I did halfway right, in Singapore. Maybe I'll go to Minhaj, I'll finish off Minhaj, and then and I'll see which are the books that I have done halfway, and then go to those books before starting any other new books. This will just be the, I guess, the permanent slot, right? The 5 a.m. slot. For you all, it's 10 a.m. 10 a.m. slot. Is this a Friday morning slot? Inshallah. Thank you. Where are we? Here. Okay, so we have come down to anyone remember where I stopped? Is it here? No. Okay. So basically we came into the verses, right? We came into the verses and now I put my mark here. Right. وارجعي عما أنت عليه واعلمي أن طاعتي فرض عليك فإن لم يؤثر فيها الوعد وأصرت على ذلك فهجرها، وهو قوله تعالى وهجروهن في المضاجع، أي اعتزلوهن في فراش آخر، فإن لم يرجعن بالهجران فخوفوهن واضربوهن ضربا غير مبرح، وهو الذي لا يكسر العظم ولا يشين عضوا، فإن أطعنكم بترك النشوز فلا تبغوا عليهن سبيلا، أي لا تطلبوا طريقا إلى التعدي عليهن وظلمهن، إن الله كان عليا كبيرا، فاحذروه أن يعاقبكم إن ظلمتموهن فإنه أقدر عليكم منكم وعلى منكم على من تحت أيديكم. انتهى ملخص. تمام. So we were at this part whereby if you sense واللاتي تخافون نشوزهن, so if you sense, if you suspect, or if you know, right, if you know about the ill conducts from the woman And here will come disobedience. And inshallah, later on, you will speak about the law in Islam about the obedience of a wife towards her husband, and to which extent is her obedience, is her obedience to her husband, right? And on what areas, is it her own right, to make her own decisions, in spite of her husband. We will speak about it as well, right? Because there is, to understand, even with parents, there are limits. Even with husbands, there are limits, with regards to obedience and disobedience. So we spoke about it with regards to parents, right? With regards to your your obedience towards your parents, right? And but also at the end of the day, it goes back down to your entire mu'amala, your entire dealings with these people. Right? So even though, right, you have rights, right, you are to always, discharge you are to always, deal with people in a way that you don't hurt them or you don't harm them, right? But to do it in a very gentle, in a very kind manner. Tamam. Right. So he says here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Nushuzahunna, the ill conduct of your women, meaning the disobedience to their husbands. So if it manifests, right, from them signs of disobedience, so this will have a bit of tafsil later on. We will be speaking about it later on, about what he would mean disobedience, right, towards the husband, right, and that would be a nushuz, nashiza, and she's a disobedient if she goes into this matter, meaning fa'izuhunna. Unfortunately, in our zaman, in our time, so many women, they don't take this law seriously, the law of obedience to husband. A lot of women, they don't even see it as a law in Islam, that your husband has a right, on certain matters, that you obey him, especially with regards to leaving the house. And leaving the house, he has a full right, over you, with regards to that. Because it is, because he married you. So he married you. So it's not like, it's not like that, he becomes your prisoner, or you become his prisoner. No, right? But it's that he has a full right to request for his wife to stay home. Like if he wants her to stay home, then she should stay home. Right? He has a full right. And I don't know. I like staying home. I don't know why people complain about this law in Islam that you have to obey your husband. He doesn't allow you to go out. Don't go out. Just stay at home. What's wrong with staying at home? It's fine. Right? There's actually a law, like there has been abrogated. There are laws in Islam that have been abrogated. Right. So there is a law in Islam whereby with regards to disobedient wife, but it's an abrogated law. And in essence, it's cancelled out. There's another law that they took over its place, with regards to iddah, right? But basically, and there was a law in Islam previously, and then Allah cancelled it, right? Which was for the woman to stay at home, right? To stay at home, until basically to stay at home until her death, for example, right? There is a law in that, but it's abrogated. So anyway, like if you go online, if you find people finding out these verses, and then they make a big fuss and fault over these verses, oh, you're supposed to like, oh, Islam is so cruel, it makes women stay at home like some prisoner and da, 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 right? You know what? She's at home in her house on her bed, comfortable. This man has to go out and support her. He has to pay for everything for her. Right? She's like a queen in the house. She's not like, in some dungeon, where she's chained up. No. She's in the house. She's just hanging out in the house. She's just, being her, just being comfortable in her own home. It's not like how they make it out to be. Oh, you gotta stay at home. Oh, we poor thing. So what's wrong with staying at home? You're comfortable at home. You just sit down and just, now even worse, we have all our, I mean, I'll say worse, I guess. Right? But now even la hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Now even can't say worse. Now even worse, you have your phones with you, right? You just have your phones, you have your gadgets, you have like all kinds of things. Not like in the past, where if you're told to stay at home, you have nothing. Just you and the dirt on the floor. And in the past they literally have sand on the floor. You just stay at home. And now you stay at home, you can even have like your exercise equipment at home. You can like do a lot of stuff at home. Mashallah. You have like whole books, all the books to read. It's just not a bad thing, stay at home. But if you go online, you find people, blame Islam, and find fault with Islam, with regards to some of the but these are abrogated laws. They're not even laws anymore. They were laws. Right? They were like finding fault with Islam and say that, oh, how can Islam do this kind of thing to women? Treat her like a prisoner. She's like a queen, not a prisoner. Princess, I mean. Um in the home. So anyway, going back to this, so just be very, be very, very, very careful about all this feminist propaganda, feminist, ideas that has really destroyed women, right? Really destroyed. Now even the West, right, they're fighting back. Like the West, they are. I know that was Liverpool. They're doing a course with Ustazah Abdullah on feminism. We did it before a few years ago with Singaporeans. Ustazah Abdullah she's from the UAE, but she's from Australia originally. Like she's an Australian convert, but she's doing a course on feminism. I think under Darul Zahra at Liverpool. So I don't know what's timing like. You could check their website and see what's going on. If you want to find out more about feminism and in feminism, right? And just the whole thing is so terrible that Muslims took it up, right? Even Muslims took up the entire ideologies of feminism, right? But it just destroys women, it destroys men, it destroys children, it destroys the entire society and the entire concept of feminism, right? So just be very wary of that. Now, okay, so going back to this, right? So many women, because the result of feminism, and they don't see that it is wajib in the religion, it is wajib in the religion, right, to obey their husbands. Right, in regards to matters of what are their husband's rights over them, right? And we'll go into that in a while, right? Of the rights of the husband over a woman, like is the right any to her beauty, right? That is his right because he married her for that, and he married her for her beauty, her companionship, right? That is why he married her, right? To keep her companionship, to have her beauty, right, for himself, right? Of course, everything is with rahmah and shafaqah, right, with mercy and compassion, right? From part of the husband. But it's why later on you see that in the ayat Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that He does warn the man, right? That Allah has placed the man as a caretaker of women over the woman, and also responsible for the woman, the leader of women. Right? And that leadership is basically responsibility in Islam. It's nothing more than responsibility. So the father is placed as the in Islam, right, he's called the mas'ul. Right? The mas'ul means the one who's questioned. Right, the one who is responsible, the one who is questioned. In Arabic, is a mas'ul. He's the one who is questioned. Right, so that the father, the man, he's placed as a leader of the family. Leader doesn't mean king. Leader means the one responsible, the one questioned about his family. Right. So whatever that he does with his family, however he leads his family, right, whatever he buys for his family, wherever he brings his family, all of these things he will be brought forward in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala on the day of judgment and questioned. Right. Scary, very scary. Right. And so as a woman, that we shouldn't be fighting for this. Let them have the questions. I don't want to be the one questioned on the day of judgment. Like Allah already placed them in charge. Let they be the ones in charge. You don't want to be in charge. But so many women, they fight for power. They fight for power over their husbands. They want to be the one in charge. They want to be the one making decisions. They want to be the one, of course, with the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the husband he can consult his wife before he makes decisions. Right? He's not that he has to, but he can. Right? But then again, whatever he makes as decisions, he has to account to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. He has to answer to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, basically. Right? And whatever, and he has to, fear Allah in that way. Whereas for us women, we all go sami'na wa ta'na, we hear, we obey, right, our husbands, and they carry the questions on the day of judgment. Of course, we can advise, but again, no power struggle. No, I hope, mashallah, most of you, all of you here, you are not those kind of women that I have met in my life, that really don't care about the law of Islam of obedience to husband. They really don't care, right? And they seemingly are religious, but they really very rude to their husbands. They're very foul to their husbands, and they're very arrogant against their husbands, and they don't care to obey their husbands. And this is all the nashiza, the complete nashiza, right? Complete, and with no doubt that they will do nashiza, right? But of course, the laws, the ideas of feminism had already poisoned them so badly, right? That they can't even see that they're going against the laws of Islam. Um, Uh, tamam. Assuming a disobedience, right? So فَعِذُوهُنَّ. So the laws in Islam here, and this comes in levels. Right? So the first level is warn them, warn them or advise them. And in fact, Allah did not put a time frame for this, right? So it is on a man, right, to look at this, right? It's on a man to look at this. And what somebody would say, now what about men? What if they are disobedient? Then for them, they like the one that they have to like that is above them is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So of course the Quran already is a warning for the men, right? It is in that way. Right? The Quran is already a warning for the men. Right? As women, you can advise your husbands if you're doing something that is haram, that is against Islam. But there's no such thing as disobedience of husband towards the wife. There isn't such a thing. And your husbands can't actually disobey you because you don't have authority over them in the first place. Like, how can they disobey you if you have no authority over them in the first place? So they can do whatever they want to do, right? But they have Allah over them, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So of course, they have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So someone would just, keep arguing with this verse and say, what about men? What about men? What about men? Allah has already put in the beginning of the verse, men are in charge of women. So if they are in charge of women, they are placed responsible, and therefore the women have to obey them. Right? So why not women? Men have to obey women because you all are under the care of men, right? And they are above you in responsibility and in also accountability. They will be questioned, right? And then so what about men? What if they misbehave? Well, they have a God who's above them, right? And their God will hold them to account, right? And nothing they do will escape Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So this advice on men on how to handle women who are disobedient and disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also to him. Right, so warn them first about Allah's punishment. Right, for example, saying, "Have fear of Allah and beware of Him." Right, Subhanallah. In the past, probably this would work. Maybe nowadays people don't actually care. When people say "Ittaqullah," when they say, "Have fear of Allah," "Ittaqullah." Nowadays, in the past, when someone said to somebody else, "Ittaqullah," have fear of Allah, wa khafihi, right, and fear Him, beware of Him. But in the past, if someone said to somebody else, like they would actually weep. Right, the people, the Muslims of the past, when someone says, "Ittaqullah," right, have fear of Allah, right, they will actually weep, right, out of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But now if you say to somebody, they might say, you ittaqullah, you have taqwa of Allah, you fear Allah. I don't need to fear Allah, you fear Allah. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. Thank you. So anyway, so you can see, so if it works, and the more he should know his wife, and he should know how to speak to her first. So basically the first line of action is to speak to her, right? Speak to her, right? And this book is being addressed to women, right? So for women to understand that when your husband speak to you, right, about your disobedience of them, about your, rudeness, or your raising of your voice, right, in the house, sharp comebacks and everything, all of these things, they are not, it's not permissible. It's actually not permissible. So many women don't understand, don't actually realize that you're not supposed to be doing all these things with regards to your husband. Yeah. Okay, so have fear of Allah and beware of Him. I do have a right that you obey my instructions, especially as the man of the house. He has a right. When it comes to the education of the children, the husband is actually in charge. So hard on us wives, right? But the husband is in charge when it comes to the education of the children. So if the husband decides that my child will be educated in this particular way, then that is a decision of the husband. Right? It is not, the wife can give her opinion, she can give her advice, but he is in charge of his children. He will have to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to his children. In fact, all the matters of his children, he is in charge. Right, and all the matters of his wife, he is in charge. Right, so if he decides, whatever he decides, he has to answer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anyway about all of these things. Right, but it is on the wife that if he does not, command something that is against the religion, right, then she has to obey. Right, she has to obey. Right, so if he says, we want to live in this part of the world, or we want to live here, we want to move to this kind of house, right, it's not against the religion, the wife has to obey. She has no say in it. She can give her opinion if she wants to, or if he asks her for it, right? But it's his family. Essentially, he's actually the leader of the family. So of course, if he's wasting his money, if he's going to debt, he's going to get into riba, he's going to go into interest and whatever in doing what he does, then he has to answer to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Right, for it, right? Whatever he wants to do, he has to answer to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. So for women, when you come into a marriage, understand all these things. This is what you're signing up for. You're signing up for this. So you say, no, but it's not fair. No, you signed up for it. You go into marriage. Right? So if you don't want to get into all of this stuff, don't get into marriage. Basically, right? No, I know. SubhanAllah, it is blunt as that. It's blunt as that. If you don't want to be an obedient person, then don't get into marriage. Basically, if you want to be just your own woman and make your own decisions and have your own household and have your own this, your own that, then remain unmarried. But if you want to have marriage, then be prepared to be obedient. Like to submit yourself and to be obedient if you want to have marriage. Subhanallah, as simple as that. So, Naam, have faith of Allah and beware of Him. I do have a right that you obey my instructions. So repent from what you have done and know that it is compulsory for you to obey me. Right. So with regards to the obedience with regards to his rights, right? So his rights over the family, his rights over the children, his rights over her physical body, his rights over her beauty, his rights over her presence in a companionship. They're all his rights, right? These are his rights, basically. Okay. So if she disobeys him in any of these matters, his rights over his own money. Okay. So if she disobeys him with regards to his own money, right? Then there is disobedience there. Okay. Right. So right now, with regards to things that are haram, right? She does not have to actually obey him. Right. So if he says, oh, let us watch this show and it's haram, right? She can actually just but everything with looks, right? Everything with gentleness and kindness and compassion, right? Because if you're just gonna be stubborn, you're gonna be harsh, you're going to be, rude, no one's gonna be affected by your da'wah. Right? No one's going to take your words of da'wah. Right. So if your husband's doing something that's haram, he wants to go somewhere that's haram with the family, right? And there's a lot of haram there, right? You can advise. You just advise that, I want our kids to grow up well as Muslims, and I really feel very uncomfortable with this place that you want to go, so much or that you want to watch, so much ma'asiyah there, right? It's really, I don't want to engage in this. He can't force you. Yeah, this is he can't force you to, or there is no obedience to the creation with regards to there is no obedience to the creation with obedience of the creator. Okay, like لا طاعة للمخلوق بمعصية الخالق in Arabic. Like no obedience to the creation with disobedience towards the creator. All right, that is very strong qaida. Right, so an example of what you have to obey him in is that, for example, if he says, be home by not by 7, for example, you have to obey. No question, no argument. Just be home by Maghrib. Okay, Sami'na wa ta'ala, we hear and we obey. If your husband says, whatever he wants to say, if you want to say, that he says, you're not allowed to drive. Sami'na wa ta'ala, you're not allowed to drive. If he says that, says you can't drive, you can't drive. Full stop. You can't drive. Right? If he, it's all his rights. It's all his rights. It falls under his rights. Yes, so just be very careful about this. So if she is not affected by counsel, so the first line of action is counsel, and even then, these 3 lines of disciplining somebody else when it comes to them having a muhalafa, them having something a form of disobedience, right? It does apply to anyone who is placed in authority over anyone else, right? So, for example, with regards to parents over children, right? So, parents over children, parents have Allah has given parents authority over their children. So, children are disobedient, then these lines of this advice from the Quran itself, right, it come into play, right, whereby you go from first, advising them, and of course, let the advice be gentle, advice be understanding, let the advice be with um, meaning and reason, right? Because when people don't do something, right, they tend to disobey, right? So if you can give the reason, like why you want them to do certain things, right, so that you appeal intellect, right? And they say, oh, you want me to do it this way because of this. Okay, that makes sense, right? And then they might, and it's easier for them to obey you, right? Why you're putting down these rules, right? In the house, in the family, right? It makes them, easier for them to obey you. So, for example, with your children, in regards to it, okay, you're limiting screen time for them. You're limiting for them, right? And if basically they get disobedient, they do it behind your back, they're trying to do, all these things, right? Then sit down and talk to them, right? Sit and talk to them as to why this is being limited, right? What is the harm in there? What is the evil in there, right? And how it destroys them in their iman, their aqidah, in their belief, in their brains. It makes their brains into mush, right? It destroys children. Right. And really, I really strongly advise parents, right, to never, ever, ever allow for your children to play mindless games on their phones or iPad or computer or, whatever. Just never, zero mindless games. I don't know what's the point of these mindless games, because they are mindless. But really, so many games on so many apps that are just games, and they make absolutely no benefit in these games. And I wonder, like, why do parents allow for this? Your child is not even, it's not even a form of recreation. It's not a form of rest. It's a form of tension on the eyes and the brain, right? And then will just destroy the child from inside. So if you allow it for your kid, if you have a game or games on your devices, delete them, delete them. So that it's not something that does not exist. Right? No playing of games. It does nothing. All these video games. It is like junk food. It does nothing. It does nothing. But people are addicted, and it destroys them. So it's like, people buying for their children potato chips. Buying for their children. What else do they buy? Chocolates and stuff like that. Right? It does nothing for the nutrition of your child. Nothing. Right? Just makes them happy, yeah, but it's all destructive. It's all destructive, right? So why do they do it? Makes them happy. If what destroys them, naam, yes. Then, subhanAllah. Right? So video games is the same category as junk food. Same category as junk food. So but it's just junk for the mind. Now, alhamdulillah. Okay, so here, so the first line of action refers to anyone who is, in authority, right, towards anybody in their authority who's going against their authority. Right, first line of action is advice, and advice for as long as advice works. Right? If you see the advice is working, continue advising. Change the way you advise, change what you say, come into discussion. I have a tafahum, have an understanding with each other. These are all ways of. So stay on the first point for a long time. Right? For women with regards to your children, right? For men with regards to their wives, stay on the first point for as long as you need, right? And that is the best. That is the best. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his own lifetime, right, it is seen that he had done the first one and he had done the second one as well. Right, sallallahu alaihi wasallam towards his wives. He had done the first and the second one, right, towards his wives. The last one, no, right? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his entire life, he has never hit a woman or a child or a slave. He has never hit. The only time he has raised his hands to hit somebody else, it is during jihad. And usually there is on the part of defense. He's defending himself, defending the Muslims. Part of jihad, that's the only time that he has raised his hands against someone else. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And with regards to women and children, and slaves, and even his own companions around him, never, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has he ever struck anyone. Right? Which is why we have to go through quickly. We have to go through carefully, Afwan, right? What it means here in the verse. وَاضْرِبُوهُنَّ, what it means in the verse, and to strike them. Now, now, right? So after a husband, has, and so a woman, so for us as women, when your husband advises you on something, how do you respond? Well, as a woman here, how do you respond when your husband advises you on something, right? When your husband advises you on something that is your fault, like you did something wrong. Right? So first understanding is that you did something that is wrong. Like it is wrong. Like it is your fault. Like, and he advises you on it. How's your response? How's your response? We have to reflect on ourselves as well as gay women. We must think about our own selves. Right? Do we respond well? And when our husbands point something out to us that we did something wrong, do you respond? Do we respond well with respect, to our husbands when they point something out? Because you're not no one is perfect. So it can't be oh no, my entire marriage life I've never made a mistake. I don't know if there's any if it's any woman here who has ever can actually say that, like say the Khadija going on, mashallah. I can't say it. I mean, from the first week of my marriage, I didn't make so many mistakes. Like in my own marriage. I did first month so many mistakes, and then this got now already 11 years and still making mistakes in my marriage. Subhanallah, still, I mean, I think it's like a daily affair. Kan? Like a daily affair going on. Yeah, right. So, so of course, like, do you argue before you apologize? Do you argue first before you apologize? And not just, how many of us here apologize directly immediately, right? Or is there some like, but, or try to explain yourself, or try to do something, try to say something first, right? Or just keep quiet straight away. From the moment he advise you straight away, keep quiet straight away. You just say, oh, marhaba, right? Like on the inside, on the mind, or even when you say something against them, or you try and defend what you did, right, with regards to them, right? So just be aware, right, that when they do advise you, right, be very aware of how you respond, basically. How do you just observe your own self, and you be your own judge. And you be your own judge. Judge yourself before you are judged. Say in our statement. Judge yourself before you are judged. Right? Judgment day of judgment. And it has حاسب أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا. Right? Judge yourself before you are judged on your judgment. Now, right? So you be your own judge, right? As to whenever he gives an advice to you, how's your response? And do you straight away say something back, right? And then later on, okay, apologize, or Allahu Alam, you might do that. Okay, tamam. Okay, so take the advice of the husband. Okay, so however, she's not if the wife is not affected, or why are you not affected? But if she is not affected by the advice, and so it's on something that she is doing that is wrong, all right? She's doing something wrong, and she couldn't care less. There are women like that. They couldn't care less, right? Then Allah says, go to the next level, which is wahjuruhunna wajhuruhunna fil madaji', right? Then if they persist, do not share their beds with them. Meaning, the husband leaves the bed, okay? Not wife. The wife stays in the bed. The husband leaves the bed. Right? So the husband goes out there, he can sleep in the hall, right? Or he can go to another place of sleeping. He can go to the masjid, he can go to his mother's house, he can leave. Basically what it means is that he can leave intimacy, right? And there is a form of punishment. But you would say it's a form of punishment, not an active form of punishment, to get someone to intibah, right? To get someone to wake up, to what they are doing. Right? So it's a passive form of punishment, right? Where there is no harm onto anyone, right? There is no hitting, nothing, right? But there is a silent treatment, right? So this basically what it means by wahjuruhunna, right? Fil madaji', right? It means to separate from them, from intimacy, right? To stay away from intimacy, right, with the wives, right? So as to show that he is not pleased with her actions and behavior, right? So he has it right. Rasulullah SAW was known to have done that. Sayyidina Ali was known to have done that. Sayyidina Fatima Zahra, right? So Rasulullah stated from all of his 9 wives. There was a point in the history of Rasulullah's life in the seerah where he stayed away from all 9 of his wives. For a month. And for a month, he stayed away from them, right? And that was because they were asking for more nafkah, right? That was the reason why he was staying away. But they kept asking for more nafkah, right? For more money, right? From Rasulullah. And this is not his role. In a sense, as a prophet, any money that comes his way, he gives it out straight away to the poor. Even his own daughter does not get a share of it. Right? He doesn't give money to anybody. not even not anybody in his family, not his wife, not his daughter, right? Sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is none. Right? But the wives were like, they wanted to have more nafka from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And so he got upset. He got upset and he kept asking, and he didn't want to give to his family when there were people, who were hungry in the masjid, in the masjid of Rasulullah. There is a place called Sufa, which is a bench, like a raised platform. And there were people who lived on this raised platform in the masjid. They're called Ahlul Sufa. They are the homeless. They're the homeless of Medina. And they are basically made up of people, right, from all walks of life. But there are people who actually came to Medina to seek Rasulullah, to come into Islam. Then they decided to stay on in Medina, and they are poor and homeless. Rasulullah supports all of them. And there are about 70 of them, about 70 people of Ahlul Sufa. So he actually supported the homeless in Medina. Right. So I mean, these are all things that he had to do as the head of state, but his wives were asking for more money. Right. So he separated. He separated from them. And I do give this as an advice to couples who are finding a lot of friction. I do give the advice of separation, because it is a sunnah of Rasulullah. If there is friction and it's just getting worse by the day, right, that separation is an option, not divorce, separation. Separation to think, right? To think, to to gather your thoughts together, right? To look at the situation, to ask yourself, what do you want? Right? What do you want in life? What do you want in life? That is why after the separation for a month, it was a month of separation from his wives, from all of his wives, all nine. He was separated from all nine of his wives, to the point that the Sahaba thought he divorced, right? And news was so spreading around that some divorced all of his wives. I said, no, Omar panicked, and Omar ran to Rasulullah, and he was like, yeah, Rasulullah, you divorced your wives. Because one of Rasul's wives is his daughter, Sayyidina Hafsa, right? And Sayyidina Umar, this is the narration, Sayyidina Umar went to his daughter, Sayyidina Hafsa, and she was crying. And then he was like, did Rasul divorce you all? What did you do? Why did he want to upset him? What do you want to? And they were like, I don't know, are we divorced? Are we divorced? They were not divorced, but they were separated. And they were separated. So he went to find Rasulullah. He found him. He came to Rasulullah's presence, and it was the hadith about Rasulullah was lying down on a straw mat. When he got up, he was bareback. When he got up, there were red marks on his back because he was lying down on this straw mat. And so Umar said to Rasulullah, "Ya Rasulullah, did you divorce your wife?" And he was like, "No, no, no. I just separated. I just separated just for a while. I'm gonna come back. Don't worry about it. It's just for a while separation." So separation can be a good thing. It can be a good thing, but it is from the husband, right, to think about it. It is not for the wife to run away from the home of the husband unless there is real harm that she's facing, and she has to protect her body, her physical self, right, or her physical self now. Right. I would say mental self and emotional self, but then again, people are abusing that. People are abusing that statement because then they just count everything as mental torture, everything as emotional torture when it is not. Right? Some people even count being advised as mental torture. No, being advised is not mental torture. It's just being advised. Right? So, but if there is entire taunting, it is taunting you. Like if it is mocking you, if he is, there is entire abuse in that way, real abuse, like real abuse. But if someone is advising you, it's not called abuse, it's called advice, right? So something that it's so hard to say, even with regards to mental and emotional abuse, because I've met a lot of women, like, who they completely misconstrue what that means, right? And they just discount everything as abuse, everything is abuse. So therefore, I run away from my husband's house to my father's house, and subhanallah, it's on the father. Then if your daughter does this, when your daughter comes to your house after she's married, it is on the parents, right, to ask, both sides what happened, right? And if the parents find out that it's just nothing, that she ran away from home for nothing, subhanallah, for nothing. I know, I've had so many cases talking to people. There was this woman, she was saying that, and I asked her, why do you leave your husband's home? And she said that, well, I wanted to buy this bag. And I was like, what? I want to buy this bag. And she, can you repeat yourself? So I want to buy this bag. Okay. But it's too expensive and he won't let me buy it. With his money. His money. And I said, and because of that, you ran away from home? because he won't buy for you a bag. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. What's wrong with you? Right. Subhanallah. And so this, and it's, as he told you, you're in the shoes. This is nashiza. You can't just, get angry that he won't buy for you something that you want. It's a form of luxury, from his own money, not your money, right? And then you're so angry you run away from home. You know, and run to your husband, to your father's house. And then, Subhanallah wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So, but these women do exist. And you wonder what's wrong. You really wonder about them. Like they have no right and they have no fear, because the woman who spends the night away from the husband's bed without good reason, or Sharia, not good, Sharia reason, Sharia valid reason, right? Then the angels curse her till she goes back. The angels curse her till she goes back. Right? And her salat, her saum, all of her ibadah are not counted until she goes back. If she left for reasons that are not valid in the Sharia, they're not valid in the Sharia. Of course, if they are valid in Sharia, there's a different thing altogether. Tamam. So the Sharia calls for us to preserve our body, our physical safety, our dignity. The Sharia calls us to preserve our dignity and our physical body and our religion, right? So if he's calling us to destroy any of these things, or he's destroying any of these things, then of course she has to protect them. I can protect these things, right? But other than that, if it's like a simple argument, simple misunderstanding, simple, displeasure, whatsoever, she has no right, right, to leave the house. If it's just simply, going back and forth, that husbands and wives always do, right? You do this, I mean, people do this all the time. You argue about matters of the household, of the children. He's not harming you in any way. He's not abusing you in any way. He's not doing any of these things. Right? But upset, angry, walk out of the house. The moment you walk out, the la'na begins. Like if there is no Sharia reason, there has to be a Sharia reason. So if you say to yourself, there is a very Sharia reason, and you're very sure of it, then walk out. Right? Walk out, and there's no la'na, right, on you, because Allah knows you're protecting your physical body or your dignity, right, or your mental state or whatever. But make sure that it is valid. Make sure it's valid. Don't abuse the laws of Islam. So on you to be your own judge, right? You're on you to be your own judge, and Allah will be the one who will judge you, right? So everyone, you be your own judge, and Allah will judge you, because all these matters is really very specific to the individual. So I can't even give a blanket rule, right, about when can you leave, when can't you leave. If you have to leave the house, right? So if you want to be on the safe side of an argument, say to him, would you please and just for tonight, can we cool off? Right, cool off. You can request that. You can request cool off. It is on him to leave. Right, if he wants to leave, it is to cool off. Right. So Rasul had a month away from his wife. Sayyidina Ali as well. He's called Abu Turab. He has a laqab called Abu Turab from a story. And that was Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, whereby he argued with Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, and he left the house. I said, Ali, he left the house, went to the masjid, and he was sleeping in the masjid. Right. So Rasul came, he saw Sayyidina Ali's son-in-law, right, sleeping in the masjid. Why is my son-in-law here at the masjid? Right. So he got simple Sayyidina Ali, say, Kum ya Baturab, right? Oh, stand up, oh father of dust, because he was sleeping in the dust. Stand, oh father of dust. Right? What has happened? And Sayyidina Ali said that had an argument with Zahra. He had an argument with Fatima Zahra, and he's left to cool off. So Rasul took him by the hand, brought him back to the house to say to Fatima Zahra, right, and found her crying also in her house, and took her by the hand, and he reconciled between them. Right, that is what a proper father should do. A father should do that, right? Not take sides, but hear both sides, and then look for reconciliation, especially if the argument is something trivial, something small, it's not a major thing. And many of our arguments with our spouses are really small things. So let's try and think of what what do we argue about. Very trivial things, very trivial things that you may argue about, and that's it, right? Khalas. Right. So so again, when we speak about all these things, there are situations whereby it is on the severe side, and the laws are different there, and there are general situations that are not severe, and the laws are there. Right, so don't put a blanket law over every situation, right? Because then you might be going against Islam in that way. You're going against Islam in putting a blanket law for every single situation, and not actually looking at what are the laws, or the specifications of the situation. نعم, right. So وهجروهن في المضاجع. So regards to like if so this is something that is advice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? It also works with our children. Right, so you say to your children, right? You advise them, you advise them, you advise them. They still disobey you on certain things. They remove privileges, because in this ayat, the husband is removing the privilege of intimacy, right, from his wife, to try and discipline her. So for children, the first line of from the Quran, the first line of discipline is to remove privilege, right? Remove privilege. The privileges, not needs, but they are privileges, right? So and you take something away from them, right? Their toy, right? Their some playtime, take it away from them, some things whereby, methods you can use, right? So these are passive methods, right, of disciplining, right, whereby you don't actually directly harm them or directly, punish them, right? But you remove privileges, or so you can't go out today, you're grounded, stay at home, think of what you've done, do some household chores, right? Gonna make you go clean up wash the toilet, gonna make you, some ways you can use, right, to make them, it's a form of punishment, like for a mukhalafa, like for a disobedience. Tamam. If they still persist, if this does not make them repent, so they're doing something wrong, they're doing something wrong, right? Advising does not help, removing privilege does not help, and they're still doing what is wrong, then now comes the punishment, which is وَضْرِبُوهُنَّ, right? So, and if they still persist, then strike them gently, right? In the Sharah here, it says a hit does not harm. I mean, there is no pain. There is no pain in this hit. So what's the point of the hit? It is to make them wake up. Right? It is like that, right? To make them wake up, and wake up to your state, and wake up to what you are, and wake up to your situation, and wake up. And so it's more of like a tap. And that means, and it's with a siwak usually, or with the hand, but it's a tap, right? A tap, on a part of the body that can take this kind of taps, like the shoulder, right? The back, right? The thigh, it's like the parts of the body where you can tap it without harming it, right? But not the face, and not to touch the face, not to slap the face, right? Not the face, right? In that, okay. Does not break any bones, nor cause any damage to any limb. So in al-ta'nakum, right? And if they obey you, then فَلَا تَبْغُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ سَبِيلًا. Right? So if they repent and they leave their disobedience, do not harm them anyway, or try to get back at them for disobedience, meaning don't remind them. Right? So it's on all of us. If anyone under us, disobeys us, as parents or as teachers or as their husbands over their wives and their children. Like, so if they repent and they change their ways, then you are not to actually, say it over and over again. Last time you were like this, and last time you did like that, and last time you disobeyed me in this matter, and last time, if it's forgiven, it's forgiven. Khalas, it's done. I finish. Don't say, that time when you did this and that time when you did that. I don't find a way, to harm them. فَلَا تَبْغُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ سَبِيلًا. Do not find a way to harm them in this. Let it go. Let it go. Then Allah ends the ayat by reminding men of his position over men. Allah is high. Allah is above them. Allah is Kabir. Allah is great. Allah is the most powerful. So fear Allah, that he will punish you if you oppress women or men. For indeed, he has more power over you than you have power over those under your care, for everyone. Right? So you have taqwa of Allah with those who are under you in your care. Right? And so know, O woman, the rights of a husband over his wife is of the greatest of rights. Right? The rights of a husband over his wife. It has been related by Imam at-Tirmidhi that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, and we're going to have to answer this hadith very, very well, inshallah, so that you all don't fall into any feminist whispers with regards to hadith. Rasulullah has said, in a hadith, that if I were to command anyone to prostrate to anyone else, I would have commanded a wife to prostrate to her husband. What does that mean? Okay, so this basically, there was a man, that story behind this, okay? There was a man that came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. There was a man that came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he was so awed by the Prophet, in awe. He was so in awe by the Prophet ﷺ that he said, Ya Rasulullah, can I sujood to you? Right? He was in so much awe of Rasulullah ﷺ. Right? So he said, Ya Rasulullah, can I make sujood to you? Right? And also in his Sharia, human beings cannot make sujood to anybody else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In previous Sharias, yes, they can. As we know, in Nabi Adam's time, Allah commanded the angels to make sujood to Nabi Adam alayhi salam. And this sujood is sujood of respect, of course, not of worship. A sujood of respect. There are two types of sujood, right? Sujood of respect, sujood of worship. Okay, this one he's saying, speaking about here is the one of respect, not worship. Of course not. And he will never command anyone to make sujood of worship to anybody else except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not permissible. Right? So that's the types of sujood, right? Sujood of respect and sujood of worship. Right. There's also a sujood of gratefulness. Right. So with the angels towards Nabi Adam alayhi salam, is sujood of respect. Right, to Nabi Adam alayhi salam. With regards to Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers and his parents, so Nabi Yusuf's story, right? Then at the end of the story, Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, his brothers and his father and his stepmother had come and they all fell in sujood, right, towards Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, and that is respect. Respect and also gratitude towards Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam. Respect. Okay, so when this man came to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but in the Sharia of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, any form of sujood, no matter what the intention, and no matter what the cause or the intention, is haram. In the Sharia of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it was not haram previously in other prophets' Sharia, but it is haram in the Sharia of Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Haram to do sujood to anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you're doing a sujood of respect. It is still haram, right, to do a sujood of respect. So anyway, a man came to Rasulullah and he said that, Ya Rasulullah, right, he was so amazed by Rasulullah, he wanted to sujood to Rasulullah. Because I said, do not do sujood to me, and it is impermissible, right, for anyone to make sujood to anyone else. Okay, so the first law here, it is impermissible for anyone to make sujood to anyone else. Then he said, you must understand the way the Arabs speak. The Arabs, they have this thing in balagha, in their language, right? In language, they have this thing in balagha, whereby they will make a statement, right, to show to show the greatness of a matter, right? So they will make a great statement, right? And it's not something that is to be done, no, but to show the greatness of the matter. So that, for example, there was one of the awliya, he would say that if you need to understand this form of speech in the Arabic language. You must understand. So this wali, he said, if cutting up my body piece by piece, stripping my body of its skin and cutting it up piece by piece would make people obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would do it. So you understand the statement. You need to understand statements again. We are in a society whereby, subhanAllah, I've seen so many posts, online. People post something and the comments are like, people are misunderstanding statements. They don't understand English anymore. Right? So subhanAllah, it's why you get being so defensive and so quarrelsome and so argumentative, because they're not understanding the passage. Comprehension. Come on, understand the passage. What is being meant? Like what is meant here, right? Simple English. Okay, so in this wali said, if being stripped of my skin and having my body cut up to pieces would cause for people to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would do it. And what is he trying to do is this wali? He's trying to show the greatness of obeying Allah subhanahu. In fact, he said more that if it was people from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that was the statement. He was speaking because he saw the severity, the enormity in disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will give his entire body, his flesh and his skin, right? To just, if this would stop you guys from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I would do so. I would give up in everything. You get what it means? It does not mean that he's doing it, right? It just means that he's showing how great the matter is. Okay, so understand statements. And subhanAllah, in our education system we actually went through it, critical thinking, right, analysis. They do teach us all these things. How do you read statements correctly? Right? How do you read statements correctly? But yet, when you go online and you see someone, people, attacking a post, and they completely do not understand what's being said. You can see they have full misunderstanding or full, lack of understanding or lack of the point of lack of intelligence, right, to what was actually said in the passage. Right? Understand your passages, understand your terms, understand the statement. Right? Don't just fly into conclusion and then start attacking people front and back left and right. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. And so this hadith has been attacked so many times by the feminists. This hadith about prostituting the husband, been attacked so badly by the feminists, because these feminists cannot think for their life. They can't think, like, and understand statements, understand the statement. He said, if I were to command, right? Lao in Arabic, lao. Like lao in Arabic is an if that can never happen. Right? Know your Arabic also. Right? If I say in, right, in Arabic, inshallah, in is an if that can happen. Right? In kuntu huna, in ati al-yawm, right? If I come today, right? If possible. If I say lao, right? Lao. Right? Lao kuntu fi zaman sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? If I were in the zaman of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then if they can never happen. Okay, there are there are ifs that can never happen, and these ifs usually come with the past tense, right? To show it can never happen, right? They usually come with the past tense, and if it comes with the present tense, it shows that there's a possibility they will happen in the future. But if I say an if about something that is past, if I say if I was at the party, if I was at the majlis, the majlis has already happened. I cannot be at the majlis anymore, right? So it can never happen, right? Or in English, if I were you, it can never be you, right? But if I were you, I would do this and do that, right? So these are the ifs that would never happen. So understand your language. لو أمرت أحدا أن يسجد لأحد if لو, right? Which means never happen, right? But if I were to command anyone to prostrate to anyone else, this comes in the story. Okay, so he says to the man, if I were to command anyone to prostrate to anyone else, I would have command again. I would have, right? That means not, right? But just would have commanded a wife to prostrate to her husband, right? And here Rasulullah SAW is displaying or explaining the the respect that a wife, the respect that a wife should have towards her husband. And I was discussing one of my friends last week, on SMS, on WhatsApp, SMS, so years ago, right? In Zaman berzaman, right? But WhatsApp, I was just WhatsApping someone last week, whereby we were discussing about the attitudes of women towards their husbands. Right? You're not treating your husbands well. A lot of women, they're not respectful towards their husbands. So women, pay attention to this hadith. The hadith shows that, woman, respect your husband. Place them on a pedestal. And that is what I have learned from my teacher, Sir Zainab. So Zainab, I think from years ago, she came to Singapore. I was speaking to her in one of my conversations with her, and she was saying to me that, no matter who you think you are, or what you think you are, or how religious you perceive yourself to be, your husband is your husband, you are the wife, right? He is on the pedestal, you are below. Right? She would say that to me when we were against Zainab. And so what she was saying to me that, you think you are Ustada? No, you are Zawja. You are not Ustada to your husband. You are Zawja to your husband. You are the wife of your husband. He's on the pedestal. And don't you for a moment think that you are better than him in any way with regards to the religion, with regards to your money, with regards to your wealth, to your finances, whatsoever. Don't you ever place yourself above your husband in any way, right? So, and since that day, I've been connecting my marriage in that way. What she said, right? That I place him on a pedestal. Right? He's on a pedestal with me, right? That whatever it is that, I place myself below, right? And from then on, I could see that it's just so, like, it's that the marriage gets so beautiful when you begin doing that, right? It's not humiliating at all, right? But it's actually, there is a beauty to that, because Sayyidah Khadija, she did that. And of course, you might say, "Oh, but her husband is the Prophet, what, sallallahu alaihi wasallam." Yeah, but they are examples for us to take, right? They are examples for us to take. And in fact, among the Sahaba, there are, of husbands and wives whereby the wife is more rich, the wife has, is a higher class, the wife is, and so-called the many things above the husband, but she places herself below the husband. And in fact, Rasulullah said to Sayyidina Fatima al-Zahra, Ya Fatima, like, don't you know about a woman who will come into paradise before you, right, amongst the women? And Sayyidina Fatima said, who is that, Ya Rasulullah? Like, who will come into paradise before me? Right? He said, the one who pull your camel, right? The one on the day of judgment who is tasked to pull your camel, right, into paradise, right? And she's the one who entered paradise before you. And then said Fatima Zahra says, who is this woman? Can I meet her? And Rasul gave her the description. This woman, her name is Muti'ah, right? Muti'ah, right? And she lives in this particular place in Medina. So Fatima Zahra went to go and see her, to go and find this woman, to find out what is it about her that she has this special station of coming into paradise first before Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, not because she's better than Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, but because she's pulling the camel of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra into paradise. But again, they show that she's a great woman. Right? So Sayyidah Fatima Zahra went to find her, and she came to the house of this woman, right? And then she asked this woman, like, tell me about yourself, right? I want to know more about you. Mutia. Her name was Mutia, right? Mutia meaning the obedient one. Mutia, obedient one. I have a friend in Darul Zahra, her name was Mutia. And she's still here in Darul Zahra, like Mutia. So the obedient one, right? So she asked the woman, what is it that you do, right? And then she said that, well, every day, right? And it's basically her answer. Right? Every day my husband leaves the house, I basically I prepare the entire house for him. I clean the whole house. I prepare food for him. I obey him in every single thing that he tells me to do. Every single thing he does do, I obey him completely, right? And every single night she will ask him, "Are you pleased with me? Is there anything else more that I can do for you?" And so on. Right. So that was the woman that will bring Sayyidah Fatimah Zahra straight into paradise. So by her complete any obedience to her husband, and placing him like a king, right? Like a king over her, and therefore he treats her like a queen, like by his side, inshallah. And if you read stories of men who really love their wives, you'll find that a lot of these women, they are women who are obedient to their wives. Habib Ali in Batabahat, like his wife, he loved her so much. She passed before him, but she loved her so, 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 so much. Like, because she was somebody who would bring happiness to his heart, and someone who was always obedient, someone who was gentle in her words, in her speech, like someone who was just a very delightful person to be around. Be that person. Right? Be that person. Feminism has taught us to be foul and to be ugly and to be unlovable, right, towards our husbands, right? But be the one that is lovable, right, towards him. So let's continue the hadith again. The hadith, so basically it is to show respect, right? Someone was someone to show respect. Like, so I've heard people saying things like like, you need to really, put men in their position. You need to really, run them down. You need to really rub in their faces how pathetic they are. You need to, subhanallah, you want I would say, don't even do that to other human beings. Not even your own husband. Don't do it to any human being, right? And to treat them in that way. And sometimes, subhanAllah, people treat their families in a way whereby they will not treat even, strangers outside the family. But they are foul towards their own families. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. تمام. Let me continue the hadith, right? So he says, صلى الله عليه وسلم, لو أمرت أحدا أن يسجد لأحد لأمرت المرأة أن تسجد لزوجها من عظيم حقه عليها. The footnote is the continuation of the hadith. ولا تجد امرأة حلاوة الإيمان حتى تؤدي حق زوجها ولو سألها نفسها وهي على ظهر قطب. Right, تمام. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so the condition of the hadith, he says here that if I were to command anyone to make sujood to anybody else, I would have commanded that a wife makes sure to her husband min azimi haqqihi alayha, because of the greatness of his rights over her. To make sure towards him in respect and honor, right? And that is the best way to conduct your marriage, right? To treat your husband in respect and honor, and inshallah, he will also on his end, yani back up, in a sense, on his end, he will rise up and he will, perform his duties well, inshallah. Inshallah. And I have had a few people speak to me about their husbands being so lazy and not working at all, and just completely depending on the wife to support them financially, right? And I said to her that because you make him, you spoil him in that way, right? So he's so used to just you paying for everything. So her husband has been, unemployed for a long time, and he sees no need, right, to be employed because his wife is paying for everything. And I said to her, you need to get, because he used to be someone who was very financially responsible. Then he became lazy after that because she was doing everything. How about Hussein had to say the same thing. She said that sometimes we women, right, we spoil the men. We do everything. You do everything, and after that, when you're like, okay, you want to do everything, you do everything lah. Right, you can do everything you want to. Then they get spoiled about it, and it's like you handle everything. You handle the kids, you handle the groceries, you handle the household, you handle the bills, you handle the everything. You handle. Don't do that. Right, it's their responsibility. Like, push it on their backs. It's their responsibility. But if you want to do it, then do it happily, right? Don't be disgruntled about it. If you really want to do it, don't complain and be disgruntled about it. And so for myself personally, since because my mother will handle everything with regards to our finances in my family. So when I married my husband, I'm like, you know what, he's gonna handle all finances. I don't want to handle finances. Right? He's gonna handle it. Right. So instead she handles, she would be the ones who will be calculating stuff. She would calculate, she would, whatever. It's okay to do that, right? But don't complain. If you don't want to do it, then if you want to do it, then don't complain. Right? But otherwise, you can say to him, it's his job, right, to manage the finances. It is his job to manage the finances. It is his job to manage the household. It is his job to do all these things to support the wife. Right? But if you wanna come in and do it, then don't complain, right, about it. But sometimes again, when we do it, we end up spoiling them, and they kind of check out with regards to the responsibility over it, because we're always on it. So you say to her that you keep supporting him, you keep giving him your money, right? You need to say to him, you go and work out, you go and work, right? I don't. It's not on me to support the family. It's on you to support the family. Right? Make it very clear to him, his responsibility, and that he'll be questioned the judgment. If he's not supporting the family, there's being a bum in the home, if he is. Allahu Alam. But again, all with gentleness and and just very civil conversation. Right? So not argumentation, not name calling, nothing immature, right? Something that is mature and civil, right, in your conversations with your husband. Now, and he saw that a woman will not taste the sweetness of Iman until she fulfills the rights of her husband. That's the condition of the hadith, okay? A woman will not taste the sweetness of Iman until she fulfills the rights of her husband, right? And even if he were to call her for her body and for herself, it means intimacy, like with her, then and she will go to him even when she is cooking. Right? So when she's cooking on the fire. On the fire here means that she's actually baking something or cooking. So in the past, right, to actually leave the fire to go do something else, you have to put out the fire and you have to like undo everything and then go to your husband, which is a lot of effort. And for us today, it's off the oven. Or you put a timer on the hot plate. I have a hot plate, so it's so easy right now. I just put all my food there. I put a timer. I go to school. Then I come back, it's all cooked. Mashallah. Right. I think I'm never going back to fire. I'm gonna stay with hot plate for the rest of my life. Right. But basically in the past, right, women when they want to cook, right, they have to make a fire. Right? Make a fire. And so it's very troublesome to put out the fire and don't go and handle something else and come back and put the fire back on, right? It's very troublesome. So this is why Rasulullah gave this kind of example, that even when he asked her, right, to be intimate with him and he's on the fire, like she cooking, right, she would leave it. I mean, she'd go through the trouble of leaving it and putting out the fire. When she just kindled it, she might put it out just to go and attend to her husband. And that will be an obedient woman. Mashallah. Mashallah. May Allah make it easy for us, inshallah, to be people who are, or women who are obedient to our husbands. Another hadith of Rasulullah alayhi wasallam, he says here, now, so in a way of indicating the greatness of the right of the husband with the wife, hence it is compulsory for you women to fulfill the rights of your husband in order for you to be successful with a great reward. It has been narrated by Imam Ahmad and Ibn Hibban and At-Tabarani in similar words that Anas bin Malik who said that the Messenger of Allah said, a woman, if she prays her 5 prayers, she fasts her month of Ramadan, guards over her charity, obeys her husband, she enters from any door she wants of paradise. See, woman, we get this. Men don't get it. We get it. There is no hadith that says this for men. If you do all of these things, you get any door in paradise that you want. But for us, we actually do. We have a hadith that says that, a woman, if you do all of these things, what else do you want, a woman? You have this hadith like a free ticket into paradise. All you have to do is pray, fast, guard over your aura, your chastity, your body, obey your husband, and any door of paradise is yours. Subhanallah. Why not? Right? Why not? It's a free ticket to paradise. Right? So, mashallah, whenever you come to any of these, and there are many, okay, there are many hadith that speaks about the husband's rights over their wives, many hadiths. If you come to any of these hadiths and you feel a resistance in your heart towards this hadith, right, then question yourself, right? Question yourself, why do you have a resistance? Because these are the words of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, someone who does not speak from his own desires, but it is revealed, it is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. المرأة إذا خمسة وصامت شهرها وحفظت فرجها وأطاعت زوجها تدخل من أي باب شاءت من أبواب الجنة. Another hadith, it goes that she تدخل الجنة ربها, because it follows in the entire pattern of the hadith. Right? So she will enter into the paradise of her Lord. Right? So obey your husband in this way. Remember that there is paradise awaiting you. Rahman bin Auf said, a righteous woman is within a thousand unrighteous men, and any woman who serves her husband for 7 days, then 7 doors of hell will be locked up for her, and the 8 doors of paradise will be opened up for her, and she may enter through any one of them with no reckoning. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Right, so these are all statements right, from Sayyidina Abdurrahman bin Auf. So same thing from Sayyidina Abdurrahman bin Auf. What are you now? Seems was in Abdurrahman bin Auf. He didn't put the indication. And all of this is from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So those who obey her husband, right, serves her husband in this way, right? Then you see it's worth it. Right? It's worth it. Right? And you think about it, any disagreement with your husband, any argument with your husband, is it worth it that you're gonna give up paradise, for that? It's not worth it. And so just do whatever he says, obey him, whatever he does. You can counsel him, you can advise him if you want. Right? Then it's up to him if he wants to. If he wants to take your advice or he doesn't want to take your advice, it's up to him. As she says here, for the woman who is obedient to her husband, the birds in the air and the fish in the sea and the angels in the heavens and the sun and the moon all seek forgiveness for her as long as her husband is pleased with her. MashaAllah. Who doesn't want that, right? Right? So guard fervently over what would please your husband, for indeed despising and belittling the rights of the husband will bring about major sin. So many women have fallen into this because of the feminist agenda. As has been narrated by Talha, and unfortunately, I haven't heard of asatizas who don't even, who speak against obedience towards the husband. And it's really grievous because they are just pointing women right to disobedience and pointing women towards the hellfire right, in this way. As been narrated by the Talha bin Abdullah, the Prophet ﷺ said, any woman who scowls, just scowls, any one of us ever frowned in the face of our husbands and shown anger, like, like having a like sulking, sulking face with your husband. Subhanallah. I really wonder about women who actually dare do that. I don't dare do that. Right, I don't know, I don't dare run with my husband. I don't dare like scowl and like I don't talk to you, kind of thing. I don't dare do it. Don't dare because of this hadith. Because of this hadith, I don't dare show him my displeasure ever, ever. I just don't dare do it. Yeah, it is the hadith is right there. Like who scowls? Just scowl, just scowl, like frown, angry, upset, in the face of the husband, and by doing so, cause him to grieve. Then she's in the anger of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala until she smiles in the face of her husband. So whenever you feel like I'm just gonna be angry with him, right? Subhanallah. I also wonder about women who like they scream at their husbands, they raise their voices, right? And I've heard of women, keep screaming, divorce me, divorce me, divorce me, divorce me, divorce me, in that way, like I don't know. And like it's just why would you do that? Like why would you do that? I use like in anger to do that. Subhanallah. You know, if there is a divorce, it should be done with a clear mind, this is exactly what is the best situation, for example, right? With a clear mind, never do it with a clouded, angry mind. And but if there is a need for a divorce, then clear mind is something that's permissible in Islam, but do it with sense and be sensible about it, right? But don't be emotional, right, about it. Ibn Asakir, let me just highlight this part. It's the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Try to bold all of his words. Okay, Ibn Asakir and Ibn Adi narrated Rasulullah said, any woman who says to her husband, I have never seen any goodness from you, Allah will ruin her good deeds for 70 years, even if she fasted all the days and stood all the nights in prayer. It is dangerous. This is what you want from another hadith, whereby Rasulullah said that many women are in paradise, and so many women are in the hellfire. Majority of women are in the hellfire. So when he was asked, why, Ya Rasulullah? He said, because, right, you deny goodness. And that when you're angry with your husbands, you say, I've never seen any goodness from you. You're never been good to me. And they will say, never. I had to deny all of the goodness, that they have received from their husbands. And so that is what is the cause of her being entered into the hellfire. Of course, all of what we're talking about, right? It does apply to the men as well, but Allah is the one who will take them to account for it. Allah will take them to account for it. So here is advice from Rasulullah towards women. So again, another type of hadith that speaks about the greatness of a matter. So again, understand these hadiths well. So all, authentic hadiths. So this hadith whereby Al-Bazar narrated said that of the rights of a husband over his wife is that if his throat were to be flowing with blood and pus and he mixed them up, she would not have fulfilled his rights. So again, understand the statement. Understand the statement. So the statement is that if something that will never happen, right? If it's something that will never happen, right? So if a woman were to ever do this, she would not fulfill the rights of a husband over her. If so, which is to explain to women, right, the greatness of the rights of your husband over you. You understand that as in the hadith. What is the point of the hadith? So it's a way of speech in Arabic. Right? All of these things, they are ways of speech in Arabic. If, right, this were to happen, even if you do that, right, it would not, fulfill his rights over you, right, to show that he has great rights over you as the husband of the house. So understand the statements well. It has the similar effect as the sujud hadith. Similar effect. right? So it is a way of speech in Arabic, right? A way of speech in Arabic. نعم. نعم is لو so the Arabic goes من حق الزوج على زوجتي لو لو what is لو and if they can never happen لو سال من خراه دما وقيحا وصديدا فلحسته ما أدت حقه. Right? So if she would even do that, she will not be doing that, but if they will not fulfill his rights over her. Right? So mashallah. The rights of the husband, tamam. There's one more hadith that I think I missed out. No, it's another hadith also. Yeah, it's right. I didn't say that it's the words of Rasulullah. Case also was the Rasul. Right. So حق الزوج على المرأة أن لا تهجر فراشه وأن تبر قمسه قسمه وأن تطيع أمره وأن لا تخرج إلا بإذنه وأن لا تدخل إليه من يكرهه. Right, so this from again from the words of Rasulullah. Let me put it here, right, and narrate it. Right. Also, as narrated, right, from who's the Imam here? From At-Tabarani. Right. So another hadith, okay? Okay, the rights of the husband over the wife. So you know all the bold statements are all hadith. Right. The rights of the husband over the wife is that she does not leave his bed. Right. That means you're not allowed to walk out of the house unless you have a good Sharia reason. It has to be a good Sharia reason. Right. You're not allowed to walk out of the house. She fulfills his oaths, right? She obeys his instructions, does not go out by his permission, and does not allow anyone to enter his house that he dislikes. Right. Right. So to obey him in that way, and because it is his house. So in conclusion of the emphasize and confirm rights of the husband over the wife are, so we have a list of things that the Habib Muhammad has listed here, but I will go through them next week, inshallah, one by one. Right, so we understand each and every one of them, and may Allah subhanahu open up our hearts. Right, to I know we're in a zaman whereby it's on both sides, right? Men and women, children, everybody. Right? We have so much deficiency in our religion that it makes other laws of the religion seem difficult to apply. Right? Because of our own deficiencies in our own religions, from the men, from the women, from children, from everybody in society, we're all falling short in our religion itself, in our tazkiyah, in our provision of our heart, of our akhlaq. There's so many failings in ourselves. Right? So it is on us to improve ourselves, right? Because there's only one person that you can actually change, and it's you. You can't change anybody else. Right? Try as much as you want. You can't change your husband, you can't change your parents, you can't change your parents-in-law, you can't even change your children. You try. When they're young enough, yes, you can. But when they're old and they're teenagers, they're adults, they're gonna make their own decisions, right? You can't even change your children. You can't force them on things, right? So the only one you can change is yourself. And so do that. Right? Change yourself, right? Improve yourself. It's the only that you actually have control over in regards to this, and it's you, mashallah. Okay, I'm going to see the chat here because I've not been seeing the chat because so many things going on in the chat. Okay, so let's see. Okay, keep quiet because of Murajo, because you're sulking. No, cannot sulk. I must be happy all the time. Actually, it's okay, I find it okay to always be, happy all the time. I mean, if you need some time out, because you're upset, you are human, and you need to be sad because you're human. Then, go to one of the rooms in the house and just sit there and just read your Quran, do your zikr. In a sense, you can be upset, until it blows over, then you're okay with it. All right. Right. If the husband is wrong, he thinks he's right. Right. You do that he comes round to it. Because if you try to correct him, okay, okay, it depends on your husband. If you think in trying to correct him it actually works, then go ahead. But if you If you think that it won't work, then why are you doing it, right? I mean, you're gonna know your husband by now. You're gonna know him by now. If I try to point out to him that he's in the wrong, will it work? If it will, go ahead. Go ahead. If he's like, no, he's not gonna hear me, then it's gonna make things worse, right? So dua lah. So you dua, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him some, understanding and let him realize by himself that he is in the wrong, right? Let him be. It depends on your husband. It depends on your husband. What kind of husband do you, right? So if he won't accept any, advice from you, then there's no point, right, in saying anything. Just dua. Okay. Someone asked something like they like to meet their parents for hand in marriage, but he keeps giving excuses. Is a form of abuse. And he's not married to you. He's not married to you. Okay, if he keeps giving excuses to not meet your parents, he's not serious. Walk away. I mean, frankly, okay, walk away. If he's not your husband, so he can't actually abuse. I mean, those who are not your husbands, you walk away. You're not married to them. Yeah, walk away. You keep saying to them, meet my parents for marriage, and he keeps saying, no, not now, not now. He's not ready. He's not serious. He's not something, right? He's just not doing it. Okay, then don't waste your time. If there is a decree or judo that he's going to be the one that you marry, he will come when he comes, right? But right now, he's just wasting your time. He is wasting your time, right? So walk away. I will say walk away. If it's meant to be, he will come when he's ready, right? And then you won't find anybody else meanwhile. But if you do find somebody else meanwhile, then good for you. You found someone else. Like, how do we advise our husbands? Depend on your husband. It really depends on your husband. You gotta know the character of your husband. If you wanna advise your husband, you must know his character and what actually works. And if advice from you actually works, you gotta know different husbands have different ways. They're human beings. They're all different, right? So I don't know who's your husband. I don't know how's your husband. So I don't know how to handle him because he's not my husband. I know how to handle my husband, right? And I know if I need to advise him in some way, like what is the best way of doing so and the best time to do so, right? Because we plan also when is the best time, the best way, the best duration, right? Whereby he will accept the advice in that way. Tamam, right? So you gotta learn your husband. You need to know you learn your husband and know how he is. Is it possible? It starts from a mother, son was boy, the husband got to depend. Yes, it's correct. The woman that I was talking to, right? She was saying to me that she keeps paying for everything for her husband, and then I said to her, stop paying and just make him responsible. And then she said, if I stop, my mother-in-law will pay for him. My own mother-in-law will work and just support him. Right. So it was from that, right, that he got used to women supporting him. Right. He became a bum, right, basically a lazy man in the home. He got used to his own, he will make his own old mother pay for him. And then again goes with the tarbiyah of the mother. And what was the mother doing all this while? That her grown son depends on her. So there's a lot of like layers of problems, right, with regards to this situation for this woman. And really, like I just said to her, you need to sit him down and talk to him and get him to wake up, right? Because she said that he did earn the money for their wedding and for their marriage and for her mahar and everything. He earned the money, right, for it, right? Then after that, he became a bum. So which means that he can actually work. He's able. He has the ability to actually work. He's just lazy. Right. So I told her, you to sit him down and talk to him frankly about this thing, about this matter. And also talk to him about his mother and not make her pay for him. Like, you have no shame. I mean, no dignity to make your own mother pay for you. Wala hawla wala. I mean, Allahu Alam, it could be a zaman thing. I don't know if the young men of today's time, because they're so spoiled by their parents that even in their old age as adults, right, their parents still pay for them. I mean, no dignity whatsoever. Mm. Now, if the husband smokes in front of you and you really cannot stand it, you know how to say, I said, saying quiet, make him even do it more. Walk away. You can actually walk away because the smoke is physically harming your body, right? The smoke is physically harming your body, and smoke is haram. It's not makruh, eh? It has been made haram. The law of smoking is haram since 1960s, but many men still live in 1950s. have a lot of smoking worldwide. I'm saying world, not even anywhere, this is Singapore, whatever, worldwide, by ijma, by consensus of the scholars of our zaman, the law of smoking is haram. It's not makruh. It's haram. Since the 1960s, the fatwa came out. I'm just so blur about the fatwa, right? So one thing he's doing something is haram. He's harming you as a passive smoker. You can walk away. You can not. I mean, you can walk to another room or tell him, please take that out of the house because it's harming the children. It's harming you. It is harmful. Right? Smoking. So this is something whereby he is disobedience of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. He's on the side of disobedience. But again, say to him in a kind way, in a gentle way, say that smoking is haram and it's harming me. It's harming me, and I really cannot stand it. Right? If you really want to smoke, if you really have to do this, then do it outside, right? Not in the house. Right? So you see that way. Okay, because this is a part whereby it is haram. Right? So where we said about being quiet about argument is about simple argument, not about haram matters. Now, so if husband is not motivated to learn or upgrade himself in Islamic knowledge and needs the wife to do every decision big and small, like make dua only, you must know your husband again. You got to know your husband. Is there anything that can make him wake up, to the matter? And if there's nothing that no one who can advise him to make him motivated, want to study Islam and everything, yeah, dua. Because what else can you do, right? What else can you do? Right? And in fact, you know what? You can actually refuse to make decisions. You can refuse. You can say to him, you know what? You are the man of the house. You have to decide for our family. I'm not deciding it. I'm just giving, like you have to make decisions. You have to be the man, like wear the pants and be the man of the house. And sometimes you have to just put men in their positions that they are in charge. Allah says that they are in charge. They have to be in charge. Right? Put them in their, because and anything on day of judgment, they will be questioned. And not you, them. They are questioned on day of judgment. Okay. Okay, so another last question here. Like sometimes we forget or unaware of some of the punishment that was just mentioned here about disobedience to his husband. How do I move forward from this? Tawbah, right? Tawbah. You make your repentance, you tawbah, right? How do I complete do over my shortcomings as a wife? Right? It's a huge mountain to overcome. Right. So tawbah first and foremost, do repentance, full repentance, right? And then keep trying. So all these laws, right, with every law of Islam, it's a journey. It is a journey. You can't right now immediately be the perfect wife. And perhaps you'll never reach the statement of being a perfect wife until you die. I mean, I don't think I'll ever reach that being the perfect wife. Right? And we're not the perfect wives. He's not the perfect husband. None of us are perfect. Right? So, but it's a journey. It's a journey. So every time you stumble, every time you fall, right? Every time like the day I what did I do? The day made me upset. I came back from school. Then I went to Malasafuk upstairs on the mountain. I went to the mountain because there was a maulid there. And they've been missing out maulid. So there was a maulid there at Zuhur time. I went up to the maulid and I stayed for too long. Stayed for too long. Right. Because my husband is at home and he's hungry. He wants to eat his lunch. Right. Understandable. He wants his lunch. And my husband, mashallah, he does not eat without me around. My husband doesn't eat nor sleep without me around. He'll wait for me. He'll literally wait for me to come from school before he has his lunch and before he has his lab. I must be there. MashaAllah, Ya Allah. So I went to the Maulid. See lah, wrong decisions. Like I went to the Maulid for a while. I thought I was gonna go there, get some barakah and come back down. It's on the way home from my school anyway. But when I was there, I was about to leave, right? About to leave. I was texting myself, I'm gonna leave now. Habib began to speak. Habib Omar began to speak. So I was like, okay, Habib speaking. So I said to him, I'm gonna wait for Habib to finish speaking, then I come down, okay? And Habib spoke for a long time. So when I came back, he was very upset already. He was very, very upset. I came out today, he was very hangry. Right. But yeah, anyway, the things that I decided to do. So then I know I made a mistake. I should have just calmed down. Because Habib's on the radio anyway. I didn't have to be in to hear because they were playing to the radio anyway. So I could just come down and have it downstairs in my house. But I don't know, I made wrong decision. I stayed there. Right? So it's kind of things that, but up to now, I'm like saying to myself, you made kind of mistakes again. Like I can't do it. I'm not good at judging time. This is where I really annoy him in my inability to judge time and always coming late. Things. So it's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey. We will keep upsetting them over and over again. But it's a journey, and you keep trying your best to, improve yourself, inshallah. You'll sit there for today, inshallah. And I apologize for anything that I said that was wrong or had, hurt anyone's feelings. And I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open up our hearts, right, open up our hearts to the laws of Islam and to the rules of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Amin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.